Hello, folks. Today we're joined by what could be touted as one of the Empyrion's premier builders, one who's responsible for a full spectrum of builds, and many of which were built in short order, leading some of us to believe he never sleeps. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Ente. Hello there.
Well, hello there. Hello there too.
How did you get into Empyrion?
Basically YouTube. I was watching videos and looking for something kind of survival build, and at some point, algorithm pointed me to Spanish, or good lord and good soul of Empyrean. Or one of the pillars of Empyrean, as Gerandal once titulated him. And I watched his videos and thought it could be a fun thing to get into. And I think when I finally got into actually building, I already had watched this whole series on building, so I already knew a lot of stuff. Yeah. So that's what got me started.
Um, so easy to say that creative was the bigger draw for you, or was survival? Was there some attraction to that?
Survival first. It took quite a while until I got into creative building,
Interesting.
and I only used it at first to build some small things for myself. I think. Yeah. I think I perhaps spent a good 80 hours or something like that just in survival, playing the game, having fun.
Have you have you played builder games before? Were you big into those? Any other things?
Not big. I did play a bit of Satisfactory, but yeah, it's more small single playthrough. It's a nice game. Can recommend, but didn't catch me for that long.
So
And yeah.
this would be your first builder game?
Basically, yeah,
Wow.
I think so. At least
It's
the first block building game.
yeah, good start. Um, so looking at some of your builds, I could see some, well, what I would think would be inspirations from, say, maybe Halo or potentially Eve Online or something like that. What what would you say what sci-fi themes have influenced your aesthetic?
Oh yeah, all of them. Basically that. I mean, there's a lot of Halo influence in there, and then there's some influence from Star Trek as well, but that's a rather low thing. Probably some Star Wars influences, even though those are rather subtle. There is even a ship which is closely related to the strategy game, which was Total Annihilation.
Okay.
No, sorry, Supreme Commander was the right one. You know that one?
Yeah.
Besides that, a lot of Eve, yeah, that's a huge source of inspiration. Played Eve
Nice.
for a while, and there are just so many cool builds and there are so many cool designs.
Uh, which sci-fi
Then,
which sci-fi
yeah.
universe is your favorite? If you had to pick one.
um, I can't really tell. I'm not a big into sci-fi universes. I'm more big into spaceship designs. So if we're talking spaceship designs, then that has to be Eve. That's
Okay.
just there's just so many cool stuff in there. I just describe it. Um, with a close second, maybe being Halo, but Halo is a lot less stuff in there. That's compared to Eve.
Yeah. So Eve, but your favorite faction is the Amar, right?
How do you figure that?
Which is crazy because I look at your forums and you kind of see more of like a Kaldari influence, and yet your favorite faction is Amar. That's funny.
That's funny enough too. I still have to build a Marship at some point.
Yeah,
I really want to build a Apocalypse.
I,
That's a great design.
I'd like to do that as well. Yeah, I think we talked about it before. I had some saber rattling about Kaldari and Amar.
Some inside knowledge, I see.
So has anyone within? Well, I guess we kind of touched base on that about who has influenced you from the build community. So noting off Jay Randall, Banj, anybody else? Any other builders?
Really who not? That's I do look at a lot of other builds, especially from Jay's videos, but also from the designer challenge from Mixcal. And take stuff from everyone. Beginning from, of course, Jay Randall, which was a huge inspiration, Sponge, which basically brought me into building with his videos. But also from you, of course, with some amazing builds out there. Even Vermilion from them has a lot of fantastic stuff. So just looking at the POIs which he had gives a lot of inspiration to do stuff. So basically, if you ever ended up in one of Jay Randall's videos, there's a pretty good chance that I stole one or two ideas from you.
Cool. So in regards to your building process, what's the most time-consuming thing for you?
Building as a whole? No, yeah, that's I have a very iterative process to building. So starting a build, then refining it and refining it further, and so it's a bit difficult to say which phase is the longest because there isn't really a phase. I do everything and in steps.
Okay.
So overall, the thing which takes the longest in Empyrion building is probably doing texturing. That can take really long. But for me, it's not that I completely finish a build and then start texturing. It's more like, okay, I've finished the build from the outside roughly, and then I start detailing it. And that means also ripping out blocks and adding detail blocks, texturing as I detail them. So that phase is where I spend most of the time.
Yeah, cleaning up textures on the exterior, things like that.
Yeah, that's true, but that's not the biggest part for me. It's don't obsess too much over cleaning up texturing.
Okay. So LCDs, you're comfortable with doing those? You don't feel that is a time-consuming process?
Oh man, yeah, yeah. I mean, don't have to tell anyone about as it is. It's still that the game doesn't manage to even give us a text editor which is able to do line breaks. That's yeah, that's a story in itself. But I try to do at least one or two new LCDs on each build, and then I do reuse a lot.
Yeah. I find it the easiest to do as well, just reuse a lot. So, in terms of like the overall concept of your builds, do you go in with a aesthetic first approach and then try to squeeze in function, or is it like function from the ground up and then build around that, or
It's iterative, so I start with a rough outline, how I want the ship to look or the build to look. And when I have a rough idea how the whole thing, how big it should be, which form it should have, then I start placing stuff in there. That is, where would be the generators, where would be the hangar, where would be the shield parts, which are of course huge in V14. And then once I have that, I start completing the hull and build then the interior to fit it.
do you feel that there's a really easy process of the builds? Is it block work for you? Do you feel that that's a breeze? You just roll through that, or
Yeah, that's it, the detailing part.
yeah,
That's once I have the outer hull, basically I know how the ship is going to look. Then just go in there, do details, add a couple lines there, some detail blocks there, add some antennas on point. That's probably the most fun I have in building, doing that.
So with your building, do you is everything from the ground up a single block and you build with that, or is there a lot of copy paste from some of your other forms? Maybe integrate those into the new design to save some time.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you look at the Area 47 base down here in the hangar, there's the wall section in the hangar, and that one is basically a copy and paste from the Eclipse. So
Okay.
that, did that to have to save some time, of course, because I wanted the build to be finished quite quickly. And I also wanted it to look exactly the same or to be recognizable from the clips. And I started the Intel collection, which I have on the workshop. So I
Makes
do that sometimes, but not that often.
That's interesting. Okay, so do you feel that there was a breakout moment with your builds? Is there like one particular build that just kind of caught fire and then like, okay, this is empty? Do you feel that there was that build, or is it just like a
Yeah,
slow? Yeah, which one would that be?
that would be the Kronos down here. Now the one which you brought in here is the Kronos Mark IV, which is the fourth iteration of it, as the name says. And the first one, that's the first one which ended up on Joe Reynolds' Look at the Workshop video. And I think that was probably the first time where I reached some, I would say, a bigger audience on the workshop. And I did iterate on that design idea a lot. There are a lot of ships which are fall in that design style, like the Kronos says.
Yeah.
That was also heavily inspired from an idea. It was a mix between the Halo Infinity and the EVE Online Caldari. So I wanted something that was like the Infinity, but not as dark, because at the time was really a bit annoyed to have things where I don't really can see in the game.
Hmm.
So I needed something the color scheme which was a bit lighter. So I went for sort of the early EVE Online Caldari scheme, which is light gray, and with some, I'm not even sure whether they had the glowies in there, but I ended up using those. I mean, if you look at the newer EVE Online Caldari ships, those are quite dark as well, but the earlier ones had a lighter gray tone. And I
Yeah.
really dig that. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a lighter bluish gray type thing. Looked really good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, so yeah, really this is like the one of the biggest eye catches is the trench here. This trench work. That was
Yeah.
the one of the bigger charming characteristics. Of course the angles are great too.
Yeah. I mean,
But
the trench is a really fun thing because I think the first idea you have when you look at this, at it is that's a Star Wars thing, and it totally wasn't intended to be Star Wars.
yeah.
It just it's one of those things that just happened during building, and originally you just wanted to have those armor plating look and then do some unplated stuff below. And the unplated stuff below ended up as making such a trench, and yeah, I liked it and stayed with it.
A very notable recurring theme with your ships. Always look always looks good when applied. Yep. Definitely can see some Star Wars inspirations with that. All right,
Yeah.
so the big question here, which one is your favorite? Which build is your favorite?
I think someone said on that question always the last one, and I think that's a pretty good answer. But um, I think that depends when you ask me. If I build something really new, then of course that is the one that's the best build of all time. But there's let some time pass, and there's one build that I always come back to, and that is precisely that Kronos here. That's always the build that I want to fly, that I would love to fly in survival, and I rarely get to use it because it's so insanely demanding on CPU.
Yeah, Kronos, huh?
It's just that fantasy of having a big battleship that isn't flying around and zipping like a fighter, but instead just sits there and dishes out damage and just ruins the day of your opponent.
Have you played it fully cored up?
Yeah, I did. I think on Spanish server you can bring in more cores than the regular 10s, quantum cores.
Okay.
So there's no limit on that. And there you can fly that ship.
Oh, that would be a monster. You got no quantum limit. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as bad as you might think. It's still, I think it uses something like 10 OS cores and 20 or 30 quantum cores.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's more than you would have available on a normal server.
All right.
That's what I like it.
On that note, which one is your least favorite?
Yeah, that might be a bit surprising because it's actually quite a popular build, but that's that one over here, the Griffin.
Really?
Yeah. Now the Griffin was one which I built for the Halo challenge of Excalibur.
Yeah.
So the theme built something from the Halo universe, and I usually don't do that for the single reason that I always grow unhappy because I can't fully reproduce how a ship looks in a sci-fi show or in a game. So I usually take inspiration, but I don't try to build something that looks like it is taken from that show. So here I did that, and I'll never do that again. It's there's a lot of points in it where I'm just really unhappy with it. I
Beautiful.
mean, there are also there are some points which I like. So I do like the front, but everything besides the front is not how I would want to look at. Yeah.
The beautiful disappointment.
I guess so. Perhaps. I don't know.
Eh.
It's not entirely bad, but I mean, I have a lot of old builds which are objectively worse than that one, but those are history. I built those at a point where I wasn't able to build something better. And that's not true for the Griffin. I think I could have done better.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I wasn't able at that point.
Okay, so do you have your first build on you? Is that still something you hold on?
Yes, that's a really the really first build is an small SV. I'll just spawn it down below here beyond the Griffin. And that was a survival build. So yeah, it's probably what you would expect from a first build. Just slapped some blocks together. I found the wings, so those are on here. And well, that is a vanilla build, of course, and at the point it worked for me. Yeah. But it was a good experience.
Yeah, it's got some charm to it, man.
Yeah, I think I liked it. I mean, the color scheme was obviously the white and black, which is the sort of standard Empyrion thing when you look at the artworks.
Yeah.
And I later came back to that color scheme. So if you look at something like the star flare that's hovering up there, that's also sort of following that idea with the blue, dark black or dark gray, blue tone, dark blue tones, and white.
It's kind of hard to make some use out of the reforging ramps, but this color blend looks pretty good, actually. Very nice.
Yeah, the thing is they have a slightly different shader, and depending on your light situation, you see that the difference or you don't.
Right.
And you can sort of mask it a bit if you work with with thin blocks above it or some deco stuff. Yeah, but there are some limits. I sometimes really obsess about texturing as well, or those small different changes in shade. It's absolutely annoying to me that I can't make a clean surface with some of the blocks, the thin blocks especially.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I tend to stay away from the ramp blocks is the shading and color issues with them, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are some things in Empyreans which are just hard to swallow if you're a perfectionist from especially when it comes to texturing. So the
Yeah.
clean metal texture which here is that has an anisotropic shader, which is just that the highlight isn't perfectly round, but it's a bit stretched in one direction, which is standard, but it's also when you can't rotate the color in all directions, it means it has a tendency to produce edges between textures which shouldn't have an edge in between. And that's really that's grinding my gears.
You get a lot of use out of the wood texture. I'll give you that, man. A really good integration with that.
Thanks. Yeah, I like the wood texture. It's a nice way to have some contrast down there. So everything is gray or black or something. You can put some wood in there.
Kind of gives like some Star Citizen vibes of some of the particular vendors that they have where they
Yeah,
integrate.
that's as well.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of which, in regards to Empyrion, is there any particular features or changes that you'd like to see done to the game that could improve it?
Oh yeah, man. Turrets. Let us build turrets ourselves. So give me basically a swirling platform and let me build some blocks in there. Let me use some fixed weapons as barrels of the turret. That would be the greatest feature ever.
Yeah, we could define its shape. I'm not a fan of the turrets myself either. I'd like to see like a smoother, maybe like barbette type thing, you know, which you see maybe on like some of the traditional battleships or something. You know, that encasement
Um,
rather
that,
than having the exposed I guess mechanics
yeah, I
that you.
mean, something like look at a warrior. No? That's a nice game that lets you design your own turrets. I mean, it's a bit rudimentary there. I think that it could be made better, implemented better than that, what they do there. But at least you have the opportunity to do your own design for the turret, and there's just so much you can do with that. You see that on some builds which people put on the workshop, some really great builds which have those sort of fake turrets, which I just can't do because I can't look at them and always think, oh, how good it would be if those things were moving.
True.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
Yeah,
We need those like the
yeah,
spinning stuff, wheels, turrets. It'd be beautiful to have that. And it's, you know, we get that. It's like a completely different game. There's so many combinations
yeah.
we could do with things.
I mean, I'm not totally convinced when it comes to wheels. I mean, they would be cool, but would you really use them if you can have an hover instead? But
Yeah.
especially when it comes to turrets, I mean, look at all the mess of how many turrets are on some of these ships, on the Star fighting ships. And if you could just do instead of that, maybe 2 or 3 really large turrets that have a lot of guns in there, that would look so much better.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely love to work with wheels. I mean, that's just like opening up a new can of worms for build aesthetic and building
Yeah.
options. And
I
then
mean, it
like
would be a great way to troll X-Car, just build a motorbike.
but yeah, but then you know also finding ways to integrate those kind of things inside of ships for like deco and
Yeah.
stuff. That would be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fun you can have with Empyrean anyways, and with the deco. I mean, if you look at the thing here with the Galileo, which is the single ship that looks like a giant solar ship
Hmm.
with the big sail in front. It was a really fun idea which came on and up on the Anvil Discord. I don't know anywhere who had it actually, but the idea was, yeah, we could in theory build a ship which is entirely running only on solar. That is where you never need to use fuel at all, and or even expand that and have a farm in there which allows you to grow Pentaxid. So you could go wherever you want without ever needing to restock.
Definitely.
Now, it isn't efficient by any means, but it works. Unless you make the error of going to a planet, in which case you learn that Empyrean actually simulates drag, and the whole thing moves on planets, I think, with something 20 meters per second, because it's got this giant shield in front and much too little thrust. Yeah,
Wonderful.
it was a fun little build. I like it.
Got some stuff there for drone defense. Does it have a shield on here? Compact shield?
Yeah, it is. I think so.
Ah, cool.
I think it can even run the shield without power needs. Yeah, even has a shield capacitor.
Hmm. Even warm. Oh, okay. Well, warm up does take a little bit, but that's about it. I'm sure once it's active.
Yeah, exactly.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, very stylish. Good inspiration there. Almost kind of has like some Minmatar vibes.
Well, what should maybe even Rust paint job for it?
Yeah.
I actually tried that at one point, but I'm not too fond of the result. That would be that one here. It's a slight modification of another challenge build.
Okay. Lancer.
The Lancer was for the build which I did for also for an annual challenge, Designers Challenge. It was a challenge to build a Core 2 combat CV. And that was always inspired by the EVE Online Thrasher, but originally it had, for the challenge I had, for the build on workshop, it has a greened paint scheme. And I did a slight verification where I just tried to get this Minmatar look right. I also added some of the destroyed blocks in there to give it a bit more of a rundown feeling.
Yeah, I think it looks the part. It's good color. Definitely looks it.
I mean, it's not, I didn't nail the look totally, but
Well, it's definitely in the family. Definitely.
with a
Very,
little bit of goodwill, it could be recognized, I think. I
yeah.
hope.
Certainly with the brown colors, really good suggestion there. You said this was core 2?
Yep. Yeah, the idea was to have, I can also think, do I have the upgraded version still? I think is that one here? Yeah, that could maybe that. It's maybe a bit more upgraded, but that shows the weapon layout, which it is supposed to have. So it would start with basically having, oh, not fully, okay. There's 2 laser turrets. Normally those would be machine gun turrets, minigun turrets. But you will have those positive one guns at the left and the right. And it would come with, I think, 15,000 shield, but an abysmal low shield recharge rate. But it has enough shield to basically fly at a Starbucks corvette and just burn that thing down with the positive one guns.
Oh yeah, 18 grand. Yeah, that should definitely do it.
Yeah, I think that one is a bit more upgraded than it would usually be as a Core 2. I think that's in Core 3, Core 4 even. But the challenge was to have it work at a Core 2, and that also works.
Wonderful. I'm getting the itch to build something Eve now.
Yeah, it's a great source of inspiration. Can only recommend.
Yeah. All right, so the Spartan RE over here, starter vessel.
Yeah.
Very
I need to
nice.
build more like these. I had a lot of fun with that on one of the last playthroughs I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I do have quite a few starter vessels, but the ones which, or the one which I use the most is probably, give me a second, what's the name again? Ah, I got it. That one. So that one is extremely cheap and to bring in, so really costs quite next to nothing. But the thing is, you have it available early, and what you do with it, then you can't really fight with it. You can scrub on some drilling turrets in there, and that's it. And the Spartan here, and the last time I used it, I brought it up till to Core 9. I was able to kill battle cruisers with it, which was fantastic.
Yeah, it's got some real good
So
charm.
I really need to do more of these a little bit bigger starters, which can be upgraded.
Yeah, those seem to be
Especially,
they seem to be a good hit.
Especially Reforged Eden has some weapons which give you an incredible amount of firepower on very little needs for the turret mounts.
So, do you consider like these to be like part of a faction? So like Dadric has like stellar dynamics.
Yeah, that's I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
So not really a faction. I think I did collections for them on a workshop,
hmm
but I don't really think of them much as a faction. Even though there's some things which connect the design.
Yeah.
So for example, if you go at the models here with the black look and the those low angles, that's highly inspired by some stealth designs. And so the collection is named, I think, Intel Fleet, which short for Intelligence Fleet. So those are somewhat inspired, I would imagine, a ship which is more centered about stealth. That is more hide your turrets, have a look that is more clean, and focus the firepower on the front, like what you would do with an ambush, where you just come out of the shadow and hurt someone before he can react. That's the design for the philosophy for those. Now the Kronos, something like that. That's more have armor everywhere, more open fire arcs, more to the side, so you can react to battles that you didn't dictate the surroundings or how the engagement starts.
Yeah. It's kind of got some strong broadside feels on this.
Yeah, exactly. So that's more what you would expect from a battleship kind of theme, where you would be able to take blows as you give them out. And then you have the green ones, which is the Griffin here, for example. Those are mostly used for small vessels or HVs, which is just inspired by the modern military green looks. So something to blend more in, like in a jungle theme or in a temperate planet with a lot of woods out there. So that's the idea behind that. It's also the interior, which you might notice if you're depending on which you are, if you ever served an army, and depending on which one. Um, the brown, the sand color in there, that's actually inspired by the interiors of some real-world tanks in the inside, which also have an military camouflage green outside and some of these more brighter sand colors at the inside.
You're definitely good at mounting devices. You got some head turners with a lot of your settings. Really nice shield setting. Warp looks pretty good too, man. You got like some RP stuff going on with the crane handles and stuff. Really cool looking.
Thanks. Yeah, I have try to have my fun with the interior always, with some stuff around the parts. This one had a special a feature a bit where every part was also secured against exploding,
Yeah.
which took a lot of exploding trials until I got it right. But yeah, um,
that's always important. That's
yeah, I'm not sure really. But I think I also secured the different shield parts against each other. But to be fair, it doesn't rarely happen that those go up in flames, and you carry around a lot of armor because of this shielding, which makes the ship heavy. So on other ships like the Eclipse that doesn't have that, I think that's the better design when it comes to performance actually.
really.
Yeah, I think so. But that's of course an opinion, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so one of the builds that seems to be a pretty good hit, certainly within my faction, is the Star Flare.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that one. That's As I said, it's inspired by the Empyrion color scheme from the artworks.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the first one which started that look, or has tried to work with that look. The first one was a very, very small SV, which is that one here, if you can even find it.
Let's
And I
see.
still used,
Okay, yeah.
and I still use that from time to time, which is don't try to fly it, you will crash. It's a silly design, but it still has a dear place in my heart. And I try to work with the design for a bit and also get better with it and do some experiments where you can go with it.
Yeah, it looks like something you'd bring into a POI.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. It doesn't have a shield generator. And I don't think you would be able to hit anything.
I most certainly would. I got
Try
some. I
flying.
get,
Don't press roll.
Well, you could always toggle that. You know, you could change the roll and stuff. So let's see.
Yeah, the
Bring
roll
it
is
down.
already at the lowest setting.
Well, for me, it spawned in at max setting.
Yeah, to crank it up.
Yeah. So this is it turned down. So this is pretty good actually. I can control
Yeah,
this.
I still wouldn't try to fly it in POI. We had a time where we also built POI stuff. I think I still have one. Here it is. So that was I think also something I did for the designer challenge. And then that had to fit. Now we're missing some of the Reach Eden parts. It had some infrared lasers down here, which are only available in the Reforged Eden scenario,
Yeah.
and we are on the Creator Studio right now, which is only Reforged Galaxy. But yeah, you can see what the feature was basically. It was extremely thin, small, had a shield generator, and because I couldn't use blocks because of size, I used LCDs to give the design some look.
Not
Was still
faction.
a fun build.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Would be pretty good inside of POI. You got trauma station, that sort of function. Very nice.
Yeah, originally it had some, as I said, infrared lasers. The closest thing here would probably be I can't add anything to it. Why not?
Shield one.
Is that the case? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
No, it is off. Yeah. So that was basically the setup it had, but only with infrared lasers. And that was quite good firepower. Could just burn through blocks to make the space to move through the POI with it.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So the Starflare, this is a railgun mount right here. I didn't know this.
Yep, yes.
Sweet.
I mean, the railgun is a bit of an weird weapon. There are some people which use it to cheese Toveras, which is perfectly fine, but outside of that use case, it isn't really too good because it's really hard to hit something with it
Yeah.
on the distances where you would usually fight. But it's still like the idea so much that I still incorporate it in most big out builds if I get a chance to.
Yeah, I don't really find a lot of function for the railgun myself,
Hmm.
but it's like you mentioned, there's people out there that are definitely big fans of it.
Yep. I mean, it is a fun weapon. It's just, yeah, It does look a terribly misassumed functionality. I think that would give it so much more. But what it really should have is some kind of AoE effect where it does some area damage. Just so you don't have to hit the exact blocked where you want to that you want to have gun.
Yeah. So you have all devices accessible within this build, like the thrusters and stuff. Is that something you went for?
I think so. Yeah, I think there are some thrusters in the front which aren't accessible, but most of the stuff is accessible.
That's sometimes a challenge.
That's the fun.
Yeah, that's
It's a fun challenge.
it is.
I mean, you may need to make sometimes some concessions. The Star Flare does have a lot of thruster placements, and if I made all of those accessible, it would just mean adding additional corridors everywhere, and that would rob me of space to do interior design.
Yeah.
So I did go with a bit of a compromise at some point in the front.
Um, can it house max solar?
Don't think so. No, it doesn't. The thing with Max Solar is it is really cool when you want to live in a ship, because you can then maybe run a farm when you just switch everything off. But if you're looking at a ship which runs a lot of cores, maybe even fusion generators, then it doesn't matter at some point. You have a power consumption of something like 10 kilowatts per second and per hour. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
even know what is it, per second or hour. Yeah, a lot. So at that point, losing 2 of that to a solar, you won't notice that anyways. So
Yeah.
I don't think it is mandatory to have the solar on every ship. It's a nice bonus if it fits in there, but don't obsess too much over it.
Yeah, and then here lately with the fuel bug, it's I would say the stock of solar's kind of taken a dive, with the fuel bug being associated with solar, unfortunately.
The fuel bug is what it is. I hope they fix it.
Yeah.
They said they know where the reason is, so let's hope the best. It's annoying. Yeah, like so many bugs.
So, taking a look at the Solar Explorer here, and one of the characteristics of it is the flying hangar at the front. What was there some inspiration for this?
I'm trying to think where I get the idea from. For, funnily enough, from the Camerata. That one has some sort of such hangar, not as large and not with the force fields, but it also has this open area where the ship could land. So that's the basic idea. And then the another thing was it's built completely from carbon. So basically my idea of what a pure civilian or explorer type ship would look like.
Yeah.
And that also shows in some of the RP stuff in there. So it has some labs here at the front over the hangars. There's an IT lab on the one side and biolab on the other side. I think there's another laboratory for gravimetrics where the GraphGen is. And yeah, it was basically my take on what the Reforged Eden science ships would look like. There's also like something like a small mini series which I did the solar ships.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there are 3 of them. There's the Solar Wanderer, which is a second. Here it is. Which is also a build which I really enjoyed. I think it's one of the. I use that a lot, especially in the DK cluster. So it's a very light ship which has basically all the solar and can run a long time without needing additional fuel. I think if you upgrade it at some point, you'll need some fuel, but up until that point, it can do a lot of stuff without needing additional fuel.
Yeah, very cool hanger work. Nice rigging.
Thanks.
Yeah, that seems to be the magic formula. I've been working with that. Some of like with the framing would be the lighter color, and then the insets would be darker color. It seems to be a really good hit. Nice
Well,
color.
it's one option to do it at least, yeah.
Yeah, nice color
I mean,
contrast.
hangars are a nice space to build. You can have a lot of space available where you can do some block work, big halls. It's a lot of fun to build hangars.
Yeah.
I mean, most of my ships have some. And then there's also an even smaller one,
Let's
which
get.
also sort of started the mini-series, which is basically a starter ship, which is also on running on fully on solar or mostly on solar. And that one was actually motivated by me totally screwing up and ending up lost on a planet without a ship and trying to get back to my carrier. And that basically what sparked the idea to have a ship that uses close to enough fuel.
Yeah, it's survival tends to be the biggest inspirer.
Yeah,
Like
that's so true. I mean, I
it,
do build a lot of stuff just because I have this weird idea in survival, or wouldn't it be cool if I had a ship that did that and that?
yeah, it never fails for me. It never fails.
Yeah.
You know, I get started and not even 10 minutes in, I'm already thinking about, okay, I need to build this.
Yeah, I have that all the time. I mean, even now there's again for those people who don't know, the Anvil server runs an mission series where you need to collect a lot of resources, and you need to provide these resources in a small ship, which is below size class 1, to a certain place at a certain time in the week, and where they will be collected and you will be rewarded. And I was missing a ship for that. I did have, of course, some small freighters or starter ships which I could use, but not a dedicated freighter. So that's what then came out of it, that thing here.
Yeah.
That's basically a small freighter, which is also heavy lift capable, and which I can also use to collect Voidium, but it will also be the place where I then deliver my stuff on the Envoy server. It's switched off here. Should perhaps switch it on, just because. And it's just that's a fantastic thing when you play survival and you get this idea, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I had a ship that does that and that, and yeah, then you go to creative and just build it, I guess.
234 lift. Very nice.
Yeah, I still need to bring that one on the workshop.
Era 640K. Interesting.
Yeah, it also fits into a hangar, so
Yeah, it is pretty slim. I could definitely see that fitting into a lot of hangars. Very
it's a bit
nice.
long, but other than that, it will fit in there.
Yeah. Looking at the Kronos here. Let's take a look at the inside. Nice profile with the thrusters on the back too. Gotta say.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I did vary those a lot. Mostly because originally the first Kronos, well, I can't bring that in. How much worse can it be? The first one had a thruster orientation which I actually preferred on the outside, but that's showed to be less than optimal in terms of gameplay because some of the thrusters were in the middle here. So I had to move all of those back to give it at least some mobility.
Okay, I see.
But the Kronos is also a very interesting ship if you want to see how I learned building, because if you look at the first one, the interior is completely different. I think I redid the interior by now 4 times. Each of the different marks has a wildly different interior. and that's because I learned so much more in between those.
Did you feel that you took to learning the block connections real easily, or was there some time to that for you to pick it up to really take off with it?
Oh, that was quite some time. I was, I mean, there are some parts of the block connections which I did find out quite early. That is, for example, those those trenches here, which run up. That's something I figured out relatively soon. And then there are some block connections which took me forever, and there are still some things which I learn now at looking at other people's builds. There's a lot of stuff you can do with the blocks.
Yeah, I still feel I'm learning some things. Maybe
Me
I've
too, man.
kind of got most of it figured out, but like you, I still see things that are like block combinations or executions of deco that I just wouldn't have imagined.
Yeah, yeah, that's really true. I mean, a big thing to recognize was basically that you don't have to stick with a single surface. You can just do blocks which only cover parts of a surface and do a surface behind it that gives some depth to something that would be otherwise really flat
Yeah.
and boring. And yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff to do. You can do.
Outer
Would you
Venture.
like? Huh?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that one, yeah. The Outer Venture, yeah.
Hmm.
That was probably the build that took the most time to build or the most work to get right.
Asymmetrical challenge.
Yes. I mean, the thing is, if you look at it to the ship and compare it to the ship, which is directly next to it, which is the Stellar Endeavor, that one is, I think, if you took the big version, that would be size class 33. No, they took the small version. So there's a version of that Stellar Endeavor which has size class 33, no? And the Outer Venture only has size class 21. So you would think that the Stellar Endeavor took longer, but actually the Stellar Endeavor, the Outer Venture here, the smaller one, it was the build that took more time because it's asymmetrical.
Did you have any incidents where you had symmetry playing on where you thought you had it off? That's happened with me on asymmetrical builds. Like either I have it toggled off where it should be on, or vice versa.
Oh man, so often, all the time.
Yeah, it's so
And
aggravating.
it's and the really bad thing is if you start removing blocks and then you half an hour into the build, take a step back and you realize you have the damn symmetry playing on, and half your other build, half the other side of the ship is messed up. Oh man, it's so infuriating.
Yeah.
And I only got myself to blame here. Yeah, I mean the symmetry planes are really important and cool aid to building, and I wouldn't like to miss them. But sometimes they make me mad.
uh, it's it's okay if you catch it early
Yeah.
sometimes, but if you've gone on for 20 or 30 minutes and like you're past the undo stage, that's kind of like a keyboard breaking moment sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now, if you want to look at an earlier build, that one here, the Atlantis, that was even before the Kronos, and that was my try to get a really big carrier to run, so where I could put all the CVs and HVs which are used in a playthrough on it and transport them around. And that's, I think, the second version which I built. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mark II. which is size class 15, and the first version which I built was size class 30.
Wow, good cut down.
Yeah, and that was really something. I think your PC won't forgive me, but I will bring it in anyways. That was the original one, and what I basically learned there from bringing the size class down to from the 30, which this one has, or I think is it 30? I think so. 34 even.
Wow.
Down to the 15. That's more than a cut in half. It's basically just learning that windows are really bad for size class. Round blocks are really bad for size class. That includes also the pipes on there and so. And you can do really big builds if you just know your blocks, which you can use and which you shouldn't use, and work with that.
I could see you also learned about removing the truss blocks, which is definitely a size killer. So I can.
Oh yes, those are notorious for being really bad.
Yeah, I rarely do I use truss blocks now. That's kind of like the bane of my existence. I don't really use those. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of scenarios where I'd like to use them in mass, but it just doesn't. It's just not going to work for me, man. It just eats too much size class.
Now there's another fun thing when it comes to learning about size class or about learning anyways. Now that one here that I'm now gonna bring in is gonna bring it in a bit to the side. Yeah. That was the first big Witcher build. That is when I did my first playthrough, and then near the end of it, I said, okay, well, I want to build a really big, cool ship, bring it in, and rule everything with it. And yeah, that's what came out of it. And if you look at it, it has size class, what's it? 22. Which is a bit of a joke because it's not that big and not that detailed.
Yeah.
But the reason for it having that size class is because it has the staggering amount of light sources, 330 lights.
Wow.
Which is why I also will switch them off now. And the reason for that was, I told you I learned building basically for Span's videos. And there was one little detail which he left out. That was that you could configure the lights, increase the range at which lights work. So I didn't know that, and I still wanted lighting in there, and I placed 330 lights to get the whole thing light up. Because I didn't know I could increase the range or the strength of the lights.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's a lesson learned. There were also some other lessons learned with this ship. I also had way too long. It isn't a vanilla build, so long before the stronger shields. So I had some armor in there, but it was nowhere near enough armor. I had no idea how much armor you really need to fight in Dreadnought or even battleship or battle carrier. And there was a funny moment where I was, I have this insanely powerful ship now. I'm gonna search the biggest and meanest opponent out there, and I'm gonna kill it. And I ran into a Torera, and it didn't end well. And I think I was too there.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the failures we learn from.
Well, I could see, if you had like all the shield parts on here just to be able to go toe to toe with Tavera, but back then, not so much.
I am. Yeah, I mean, it was a terrible build in so many ways, but it was fun. I learned a lot. So consider it a success anyways.
Yeah, I've got quite a few of those. Interesting color scheme here, orange.
Yeah, that was the first color scheme which where I really ran with. So the orange that came from. Okay, let me bring something really, really bad. That one. Yeah, let's take that one. Now, that was I showed you the first really small SV. That one was the first bigger SV which I built.
Yeah.
And it's an horrific mess of orange and white. And yeah, it basically shows whatever was my capabilities at that point, which weren't too great. So yeah, that came out of it. And when I realized that orange doesn't look good on a ship, I sort of inverted it and went with gray and some orange stripes in there, which ended up as this color scheme. And I used it for quite some time and iterated for it. I think the end of it, what you see, is basically one of the last is the Atlantis over here, the carrier, which also has that orange stripe. And of course that broadside down here. And that broadside was a really fun build for a long time. That was when I started playing before Eden. And I really wanted to do a ship which, as the name says, just fires big broadsides up. And when I started with Reforged Eden, that was not efficient, but possible. We didn't have the sheet parts back then. That was version 1.4. And you could still do it in Legacy with it, the weaker ones at least. Decimeters, I think. Or Devastator, I'm not sure which one was the older one. And now with all the patches, that's not really an option anymore. Perhaps now again with shields, but yeah. I'm still a bit sad that I can't really do efficient broadsiding.
I don't know. It might be possible. I mean, I guess I don't know. It's you just don't have the depth of cushion of should you lose your shields. That's one of the issues with the
The
broadside.
bad thing is you don't have the front weapons. You need to aim at stuff. You need to aim at the core, and that's not really possible with broadsiding. I mean, with a slight but, which would be which you could see on this one here. I did try a lot of stuff to get this to work, and this was the latest iteration, which was also built of the broadside, which you see back there. And this bigger broadside here is basically the latest iteration which I had, where I stopped trying to get this to work. You see this has some arms at the side which act as additional armor. And what you can also see here is some side weapon mountings, which you cannot fire when you're in the regular pilot seat, but it has some pilot seats which are aimed at the side, and those are actually able to fire those sideways weapons.
Ah, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that's really lacking is like when we think of like big spaceships, generally we see like the broadside kind of combat.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just that it's just not prevalent within it. It's just generally the thing is like the pine cone approach.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, it's all fine to have a ship which has all the firepower to the front and just runs in there, all guns blazing. It's cool, but having this battleship fantasy where you just go alongside and exchange broadsides with your opponents, that would be so cool.
yeah. Maybe
That's
maybe there
another,
maybe
yeah.
there's maybe that could be encouraged. Maybe like some sort of side mounted weapons. Could it be exclusively side mounted? I don't know, but maybe something like that could help to encourage that. I'm not sure.
Mhm. They should. I mean, if they gave us the thing with the turrets that we can design ourselves and where we can control how much firepower we put on a single turret, that would be a solution to that. Because then you could have a really strong turret that you can control and where you could do things like core sniping with.
Yeah.
Right now we have one turret that you can control, and in most cases that's not enough to do really break through the armor to a core, or at least not practical.
Right.
But if you had maybe, let's say, 6 artillery cannons in a single turret, that would be more than enough firepower to break through armor and just call something with the turret that you have under control.
Can a railgun be rotated?
I mean, it would be cool. Having a giant turret with a railgun or even 2 in there, that would be great. I think Star Citizen has a capital ship with a giant turret, railgun turret.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. I need to look more at Star Citizen.
Good inspiration.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at our Eclipse over here. One of your beauties.
Yeah. So the Eclipse is, what you can see here is actually that one is inspired by, or the style is inspired by J. Randall's Creel. And what I wanted was something that gave the same amount of detail or the same something, at least something that can rival that amount of detail which he has with the Creel, but isn't that alien looking, and instead runs with those stealth scheme, which I had also mentioned before.
Yeah.
So I do have a lot of the what you see also on some of the Creel ships, which is this repeating, yeah, really know how to describe it. This repeating pattern here, where it's just like rips or something that are over the hull, but only in parts of it, and then there are also some parts of the ship which are really smooth and flat.
Oh yeah, beautiful interior.
Thanks, man.
Nice LCD work.
Yeah, there's also a little fun story. I mean, that is the Mark II version. That's an update which I did recently. But the original was one of the first ships which, or the first ship which I built for the VForged Eden shield parts, or VForged Galaxy shield parts to be precise. And those just came out. And I think I already had it on the building when I learned about the shield parts and reserved some space for it. And the first shield parts which which Vermilion released were all small ones, not the big ones which we have nowadays, and where you see the mountings here left and right. So the first workshop version which I released didn't have the space for those. And then the version 1.7, I think was it from Reforged Eden, which introduced it, was out for about a week, and Vermilion added the big ones, and I didn't have space for those. So I had to do another version of the ship, the Eclipse, which then included these giant mountings here on the cost of some hangar space. So that's the reason why of the original Eclipse there were two versions, one which had this giant hangar sidearm still, and the other one which had the mountings for the big shield parts there.
Yeah, that caught me by surprise. The giant shield devices. I think I was actually working on a Nebula B back then, and learning about that, I shelved a lot of the builds. Cool layout here.
I mean, that's a nice thing when you do reworks or updated versions of your ships, and you can all take those lessons that you learned when you used your ship and improve on those. So
Yeah.
for that one, I had a rather large hangar, and I noticed that if I parked something in the back, I wasn't able to get my ships out that were parked in the front. So I built this ramp here, which is now a little opening where I can get something small out there when the back is blocked by something bigger.
Very cool. Very cool. Is this CPU storage?
Yeah, one of two. The other one is over here then.
Ah, Very bright.
I think the Eclipse is a ship which has. I think there are some decoys generators which are not accessible, but everything else is.
Looks like it has a good number of weapon mounts as well. Very nice.
Yeah. I do like that ship. It can be upgraded to Hell and back, and even when you have more CPU than is normally available.
So, taking the Eclipse as something for reference, how long does it generally take you to build something of this dimension?
Oh man, that's a difficult question. I mean, there's a lot of variance in there. Some things, when you get into the flow, some builds just work out and you have them done within a week. I think the fastest one was probably that one here, the Exhumer. That was a build which was, I think, completed in 2 weeks, which
Okay.
was maybe 30 hours build time. And then there are some phases. The Eclipse took a long time to build because I had to work really hard to get this form done
Yeah.
until I really managed to fire it was basically the first big ship which I built into the style. Or I think even I think I built a starter before which looks different. And the staggered surfaces which I have here, I actually started with the Eclipse, and until I figured out how to do that, that took a long time. So the Eclipse is probably a good 100 hours in there.
Nice. Yeah, I could see you did some curating with the textures here, being selective, and that always takes time.
Uh, uh, that's something actually I think I learned from you, from
But
looking at your videos.
yeah, we
I think,
rotating blocks as well.
yeah, sometimes. I mean, for this one, I'm for the most part too lazy and I can't rotate the angled surfaces anyways. So there's mostly try which of the blocks end up with the right texture and keep those, and use the flat one for the other ones which have the wrong texture.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great when you do that, and then you go to clear pivot, and it all gets scrambled.
Yeah, you tell me.
Oh man, that's a killer.
Uh,
And she's a beauty.
yeah, thanks.
I like the pylons out here too. That's a really good look.
I think the pylons are stole from Dedrick, which has a similar scheme on his. Now I have to pass on the name, I'm afraid.
Hmm.
Gotta look it up. I still have it. Give me a second. The Endurance.
Yeah.
That also has these sort of nasals which are a bit below. And that was the inspiration for why they did here as well. And it's also very good for placement for the engines, of course, when you want to have them efficiently placed. I think. Yeah.
I'm definitely digging some of the darker bodies. Like generally, I make stuff that be like a medium gray or some other off color, something like that. But here recently, I've been messing around with some of the darker ones, like with the Nebulan B, and it looks really good. So
Oh man, the Neverland B, I love that chip.
yeah,
I'm not a big sucker for Star Destroyers or that or something like that, but that Nebulon B, that's the ship.
yeah, it's one of those builds or one of I guess just one of those shapes within the Star Wars universe that people either love it or hate it. It's kind of polarizing.
I totally love it.
Yeah, it's very cool. I didn't like it at first, but as the time went on, it grew on me. So the monolith, this would be your stealth ship. It'd kind of come out of nowhere and just pop people with overwhelming firepower.
Yeah, the monolith as well as the Eclipse, but the Eclipse is more bigger, a lot hangar and space to live in it. And the monolith is a ship which is just shield and firepower, and that's it. So that was basically my take on an escort ship. If you want something that's not built to really live from it or do a giant expedition with it into zone space or something, but something that can work from a docked carrier, for example, or just in a group where not everyone needs to have this giant ships, this giant cruiser, but you want some smaller ships which are also lighter on size class, more mobile, and yeah, the monolith is that for me.
So have you used this in a playthrough yet?
Yeah, I have. I also built a big carrier, which is the Nightfall, which I don't have here, and I'm not sure whether I should bring it in. Might crash the server at some point. Your game at some point.
Yeah, we can move over a little bit, bring it in.
Let's move maybe a bit to the east here. Just out of sight. And the Nightfall has an overhang at the back, which is built to actually dock the monolith in there.
Wow.
I think I'm a bit to the
I got you. I'm
to the
here.
northwest. Fine. Yeah, so we would basically dock the monolith here at the back with the top to the Nightfall.
Beautiful.
And you can just fly around with the thing. And then there's also a giant hangar space on the front where you can dock all sorts of smaller CVs and SVs.
Oh, that must look good with the wings sticking out on the sides. You get the monolith dock to the back. Imagine the wings protrude on the side.
A bit, yeah. I can just put it in here. That is quickly done. I think the standard monolith doesn't have the docking port, so I can't dock it right now, but it's just would just have to add the parts down there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
that's basically how it would look.
pretty cool. Get them winglets. Very nice.
That works also surprisingly well because the monolith as itself has too little space to live with it, but the Nightfall here has all the space you could ever ask for.
Yeah. I was originally working on something like this with the like this open flying hangar. I'm not sure what I did with that build. I think I accidentally lost it. But kind of what my inspiration on that was like, if you're familiar with like ancient history, like Carthage had a port that was kind of reminiscent of
I know
this.
that one, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So when I look at something like this, I see that as an inspiration. I could kind of see that tell.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. It wasn't an inspiration for that one, but I can totally see why that did have a similar approach to the topic, yeah.
Yeah, if you've ever played,
Mm.
I think it's Homeworld. It seems there's a ship that's inspired by that port.
Yeah, I did.
I
The
think that was,
Bentusi or something like that was
or,
it called?
or the key or something. Was it the key?
I know, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I know what you're referring to. That's also. I mean, I didn't really like that design. Uh, I think Homeworld has better designs than that one.
yeah.
But yeah, it's certainly it also has that dual prone approach where it's just like a giant U flying around.
You're not so much a fan of the vertical builds, huh?
I think I only have one so far. I want to build more.
No.
The thing with the vertical builds is they are not really practical in terms of gameplay,
Yeah.
because the game is really wonky when you try to fly these things. The only thing I have right now is an OPV, which I also built for a challenge. That one here.
Oh yeah. Ancient Guardian. That's cool.
So that's an OPV. Where you of course don't have the problem that a player needs to fly it.
That's awesome.
And yeah, But I'm just, yeah, I'm always lacking motivation to build stuff for the game in terms of POIs or OPVs. I have a hard time to motivate myself for that.
It takes like a certain breed of people to do that.
I
Kind
mean,
of.
I have a couple, actually do have a couple POIs which are built and which are in LyfeForse. Technically, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's one which there are two in there which are a bit bigger, which that is one which could technically spawn, but the chances are that you actually run across them are basically zero, because Riven sadly needs to redo the planets first before those what can actually spawn.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm getting like some WoW vibes with the colors, like Legion or.
Uh, there's another one, uh, which is that one is a big underground thing.
Yeah, this should definitely
I
go
have a
in.
couple of those. And then there's one which you can already find in game. That's a relatively small one, which is also not too exciting to run. Just a harvest outpost. That one actually does spawn, but it's of course only a small beginner POI, which is also unshielded. Yeah. And the bigger ones, sadly, is currently, to my knowledge, do not spawn, or are incredibly low chances to spawn.
Oh, these are great, man. I love to see these. We, yeah, we definitely need like a cosmetic overhaul with the POIs.
Yeah, I mean, we've learned a lot since the first days of Empyrion when it comes to building, and many of the POIs which are in the game forever, I think we could do well nowadays.
Yeah, definitely.
And
So
I think that's what Revian and Vermilion are also doing with Reforged Eden 2, or Reforged Galaxy 2,
yes,
comes to Vermilion, because he's basically the idea, I think, if I understood them correctly, not entirely sure, but I think they wanted to replace most, if not all, the vanilla POIs with shiny new ones.
and that's going to be a great experience. That's
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
hopefully by that point I'm also adding POIs because I'm looking at doing my own faction as well.
Mm. I
But
mean, building POIs can be fun. It's just it takes so long to actually get these out to people, because you either need to bring them to Alien, which also usually take, I don't know, I think the last big round of POIs which they added took them nearly a year, I think, for some of them. And even when you throw them out to Arian, he will, of course, Adam, great guy. But even then, he has his updates cycles for the big updates, and we've watched in that are maybe half a year. So it just, I mean, the breakout depot here, which you see, that's something I built at the end of last year. And now technically it's in a game, but it still can't spawn because, yeah, right now there's on the planets where you could find it, there are too many other POIs which are set to spawn before it, so the game doesn't find any space to spawn it in.
yeah,
And so, yeah. And that's, of course, a bit hurting the motivation now when you build something and you just can't use it, can't see it in the game. And
right. And you
yeah,
know, and
so there's that.
something like this should take precedence over some of the older builds.
Uh,
Um, yeah. Speaking
I
of,
mean, this, yeah, it's just a reality of building a game or a scenario like Varian does. There's only one guy, he can only do so much, and even Alien has very little resources, so yeah, it is what it is, I guess.
yeah,
But that's a big part of the reason why I have struggled to find motivation to build POIs, just the time it takes to get these out to people to see them.
yeah. You know, speaking of which, earlier with the coming up with new ideas for uses of Deca, I'm like, looking at this where you have the bottom of a plant with an LCD on it. See, it's things like this I never would even think about inside this vertical build.
Yeah, I mean, that was actually one of my ideas, but I also have a lot of other stuff where it's just we used the ideas from other people's. And when you look at Empyrion builders as a community, that's very just profit so much from looking at other people's stuff, other people's ideas that we can reuse. That's a nice thing when having about having a community.
Yeah, this is absolutely brilliant, man. It sells Alien, like some sort of control console. Now, if that were put on like a back of a Xenoblock or something, I mean, it's great as it is, but it just is so alien, man. Like this organic thing pushes out, and then it's also like a control console. You know, very cool, very cool, dude. That's
Yeah, I also like that it has some small animations in there.
yeah.
Definitely, it sells the weirdness. I like it.
Now I need to build a Xeno ship.
Do it. I want to see it.
Yeah.
But even the whole idea here from the style was inspired by something that Celesticore did for one of for the Halo challenge, I think actually.
Yeah.
And he did something which was close to that one. That's a modified version which I did with the color scheme. Yeah, but and I think the original thing from Celesticore I also have here, the Halo thing. Here it is. Give me a second, some space. Yeah. So that's the original version from Celesticore, which is a fantastic build.
Beautiful.
Great builder. Look at his workshop. Do it now. Stop the video. Look at the workshop. No, and when I looked at that, I really wanted to do something with the style that Halo had for the progenitors, and the Guardian here, that was what came out of it, out of the inspiration which I caught from Celesticore's thing here.
Yeah, definitely great builder. A lot of use out of his LCD set too.
Yeah, I use that also all the time.
Wonderful. Oh wow, yeah, nice LCD work. It's like a sort of like a cathedral vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, the Black Cult has some sort of, as it would say, some light storytelling via the POIs, where you can find snippets of what they do and why they're doing it. But I still would love to do more of it, just
Yeah.
like the motivation.
Well, so I could see it, getting like a top tier spawn in chance with like RG2. So maybe that's maybe some motivation there to pick that back up.
Who knows, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, there would still be a lot of things to ideas what you can do with them.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna head back over to the cluster of ships here. Wait for my computer to explode.
And I obviously fly in the wrong direction. Very good. Let me come back.
All right.
Yeah, the HVs.
Yeah, love them. Void Sword.
Thanks. Yeah, the HV tanks always. I love HV tanks. They are not necessarily the best way to play the game or to fight a POI, but just the fantasy of rolling in there with all guns blazing, tons of turrets dishing out projectiles in all directions. There's some fun to be had there.
Yeah, nice first-person perspective too. I understand that HVs are kind of a thing in PvP, though. Oddly enough.
Yeah. I know, perhaps within a different rule set where you're not allowed to use SVs. I don't know. I have no clue about PvP.
So Demolisher and Maverick, a lot of similar inspiration here between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, the Maverick was, I think let me lie. Yeah, I think it's the first HV tank which I have on the workshop. There was one earlier, which is too ugly to even show here. Yeah, but I did some iterations. So what you see here, the interior is already a bit refined from which how it looked originally. But it's still pretty close.
Yeah.
And it's still a build which I use regularly and which I still enjoy a lot. It's just from the looks, it's pretty close. It's somewhat relatable to what we have with modern tanks, but it still has that sci-fi thingy going on with the external cockpit, which you can use, and the railgun mounting, the quad mounting for the railguns.
Yeah. So the Strider is kind of like a HV take on the that SV that you spawned in earlier.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's another case of I need something in the survival game, and that came out of it. I did start on the alien planet in one playthrough, and there are a lot of angry mobs on there, and I needed to something early to spawn in with a Gatling cannon and a constructor on it to build ammunition, and so I built that thing.
Now, with your playthroughs, do you find that you start? Would you spawn in a SV first, or do you try? Or I'm sorry, do you spawn in a base first, or do you try and go straight for a CV?
I try to do things differently each time. So sometimes base, sometimes SV, sometimes HV. Yeah, try to keep it fresh,
Yeah.
So a bit.
Prospector Outpost. Seems like something you want to put down on a planet you're ripping up. Resources. You get what, 3 furnaces here?
Yeah.
That's pretty strong.
Yeah. Yeah. It also has a lot of space. It has here under solar panels, there's a room where you can basically rip out the floor and build a giant farm in there, or use that space to build more constructors. And that's for me a nice bit of flexibility to decide what I want in a playthrough. I use that quite a bit. And there's also in that style a repair pad, which I have just to repair ships. But I did have a lot of fun with that prospector outposts here.
Yeah.
I still like it.
Nice, flat, clean aesthetic to it. Very cool. And Area 47, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but didn't quite get into depth of it. But
Yeah.
is it something
That's
maybe that's pulling some Krill inspiration as well?
yeah, I mean it's basically the same styling like the Eclipse, so same heritage.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll still like to imagine that you can see a bit of the Creel forms and blockwork in some parts of it, but wouldn't claim it to be as good as the Creel. Those are fantastic. So what's missing here is sadly some LCDs, which for some reason aren't working.
Hmm.
Why aren't you working? Give me a second. So normally the space would have some sort of laser fence, which is built from LCDs, which for some reason aren't working right now, but you can find it on the workshop
Wait a minute.
showcase right now.
I see a laser fence.
You see? I
Yeah.
don't. Okay, then it's not working for me. But
Yeah.
yeah, the game right now has some bugs with LCDs, and okay. But if you're seeing it, that's fine. So that's an idea which I shamelessly ripped off. I think Vermilion's POIs. I think he did something like that for some POIs.
Yeah.
Unless I'm wrong and it's Revian, which is entirely possible, in which case I apologize. But as I said, I steal ideas from everyone, and definitely some ideas from Vermilion. Great builder.
Nice antenna dish. Very cool.
Yeah, that was the idea to have this Intel theme which I run on with the style, and to keep this have this going a bit further. I have some sort of interrogation chamber down there, listen prison cell where you could put your Cyrex prisoners, an intelligence central up here where all the intelligence briefings occur and reports running and get analyzed. Yeah, a little bit of LP stuff.
Oh yeah. Antari's post. It's
Oh
interesting.
yeah, that was for designer challenge again.
I like the framework going up. That's interesting. Got the overhang there. That's different.
Thanks. That's only possible because the game has the thing with where structural integrity is also provided by the blast doors.
Yeah, that's one thing I've not really touched on with the bases is that could be a
Yeah.
completely foreign thing with me because considering the structural integrity of
Yeah. That's the thing what I'm just extending. That's basically what keeps structural integrity for the thing up.
that's okay. That's okay. That's pretty slick.
And the fun thing is those always count as keeping it up, no matter whether they are extended or not. So I can do that. Because normally you would think, you look at the thing and say well, it could work, probably structurally sound, because it has this large structural support thingies here, which look like they could keep the forces which appear and relate that down to the ground. But the game doesn't simulate that correctly. For the game, it only counts what you have a distance from the next column of structural support which shuts up.
Yeah.
That is, you have a straight line of blocks upwards, and you only maybe a certain blocks of distance from that straight line. And so you can't do really any great architectural stuff. And having the blast doors in there to keep structural integrity up is a band-aid to work around that, as I see it. I mean, funnily enough, even the area 47 next to it also needs some blast doors in there to not collapse, because the hangar is too big in there.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Hmm. Well, that's certainly something to keep in mind. I didn't know that. Um,
Those are the ones here which keep it alive.
wow. Now, I did incorporate that in the Nebulan B as like a landing support. Not my idea. I think Ace helped me with that one. That's a good suggestion. Yeah, very cool, man. And I will be building some POIs and bases at some point, so I'll definitely have to
Oh yeah, I do.
use
I
that.
totally wanted to use build some bases and POIs.
So as far as like star bases, deep space logistics. I think that's the only one I saw. Did you have other space-based POIs or bases rather?
I do. For example, give me a second. You may want to make it light again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another one, which is also in the style from the Intel style from the Eclipse. Up here.
Oh wow, I didn't see that. That's cool. That's sweet.
It's also the one which I use in my current playthrough on the Anvil server.
Beautiful.
Thanks. I think that's, yeah, from the bigger one bases, those are the only bigger bases that are space bases that I have. I do have another one which is a really old one. But I don't tend to use that anymore. That one here? Yeah. That was one of the earlier bases which I built. That was basically an early game base where you could just throw that thing out and in the starter system and use that to basically build your first bigger CV then.
Would you say that Crazy Z has been an inspiration for you?
In a way, yes, and no. So especially when you look at the star flare, that is all white, so and somewhat more high-tech style. So a lot of people seem to think that's inspired by Crazy C, which it actually isn't. But what is, and I do take some inspiration from Crazy C, just from the way he works with blocks and from the way he works with texturing.
Yeah, because that's what I'm like.
It's
That's what I'm
yeah,
looking at here with like some of the angled blocks here on there.
yeah,
I don't know if that's directly like correlating to
yeah,
that, but like some of the 22.5 from the ground going up to the ceiling, and then on the opposite end, kind of curving in. I see
yeah,
that as part of his aesthetic.
yeah. No, Crazy V is also one of the really fantastic builders, which is around for a long time and built a lot of fantastic builds. Also a great guy
Oh
to
yeah,
have fun with. Great humor.
sometimes trolls me, but what it is.
But there's some, it's fun looking your stream, watching your streams. So,
Oh wow, starter satellite.
yeah, texture's all messed up. Yeah,
So this is one of your earlier builds.
yeah, that was an earlier base, earlier work also. Um, Yeah, it's nice, cheap, bring in, have some constructors, a furnace available. Just if you, for a time, I did like to start with really expensive CVs, starter CVs. And if you want to do that, then it's really helpful to have a bit more capable base to collect those resources.
I like the no edge on the farm plots here. It just has those up and cutouts. You can see like the rest of the floor and stuff. That's interesting. Definitely.
I'm still annoyed by the texturing thing here. At some point, they changed the alignment of the these blocks here. Damn it, the angle blocks. And now all these textures are misaligned by 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Yeah, really annoying. Dang it.
See, I didn't really
Still hope
take a look at Deep Space Logistics here. I didn't really get a chance to look at it. Kind of reminds me of one of the the pirate outposts, that landing pad and um, some hub work on the back there. It's pretty cool with these containers here. I like this. It's a nice twist. This is storage. Cool. Is there all 640K containers?
Yep.
Okay, I see they're interconnected. Okay. It's cool that it ended
I
up
had
like
some
that.
fun with those.
Very good industrial vibes, certainly with the yellow rails that sells it.
No, thanks.
Beautiful. Stellar Endeavor. Let's take a look at this thing.
The madness, yeah.
This is partly my baby too. In name only.
What I have to say, when you see any red armor logos, those are because I didn't fix the textures yet.
Yeah.
And probably too lazy to do it anytime near soon.
Mhm.
Those should be dark gray or dark black. Or light gray, light black. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll fix it at some point.
This thing's just absolutely massive. You know the cargo capacity for this thing, off chance?
No. I have no idea. Too much. I mean, here's the fun thing. Normally it doesn't matter, but cargo extenders actually do consume power.
Yes.
If you look at the power consumption of the ship, it has some power consumption of something like 16 kilowatts. And that's just to the insane amount of cargo extensions that it runs.
I have to wonder if people use that, man.
I mean, I did.
Yeah? Did you fill it all up, though?
Hell no.
Right? But you gotta think, probably somebody out there is using all of that.
I think somebody complained actually that if he did fill it up, even with full thrusters, the ship wasn't able to warp anymore. So
Yeah.
some people definitely do. And the
Yeah.
thing has space for, I think, let me lie. Yeah, 16 XL thrusters in the back.
Yeah.
And it's a bit silly.
It's ludicrous. Yeah, well, I did a test on that. One of our faction mates built something, which has, I guess, maybe something similar as far as the carry potential. And I just kept piling on thrusters and CPU. I don't know if I had like 30 drive thrusters or something like that. And it's just at some point you just can't move it, man. It's just not even feasible. It was
Yeah.
nuts. But
Yeah, I mean, there are really just some limits, and there's some weirdness going on even with how the game handles the movement or how fast you can get.
right.
Because there's this weird limit if you don't have enough thrust in space where you can't go full speed, which wouldn't be realistic in any way because yeah, if you don't have enough thrust in real life, it just take longer to reach your speed you want to go. And in real life, there isn't even
Yeah.
realistic maximum speed you can reach unless you're talking speed of light, which is a whole different can of worms. Yeah.
That's one of Vermillion's pet peeves about that thrust.
Yeah, and he's absolutely right to be annoyed by that. I
And
do am.
and that would make sense. It, it would definitely change the gameplay and the way we build too, if that wasn't the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at something like the Kronos, which is the closest thing I have to a dreadnought or my idea of a dreadnought, that thing has an insane amount of, say, I think the Mark IV version, I think 12 XL thrusters, something like that. No,
Yeah.
let me lie. Not that many, but too many. And it needs that amount of thrust to even be able to reach the maximum speed. But that makes the ship insanely inefficient to move because you need all this insane amount of thrust and CPU to run those thrusters. Yeah.
All right, looking at the Tethys over here.
Mm-hmm.
Over here by the Tethys.
Yeah, gotcha.
like this front flying hangar. This kind of gives me some vibes, kind of like Babylon 5.
I have a lot of fun with it. Also Battlestar Galactica
Y-
vibes when you start moving out there
yeah,
from the inside. I just like that in the when I'm doing a playthrough also. Just start ships from here, just for the silliness of it. This is also a fun build and was a fun ship to fly. I think it's not too long ago that I updated this version and also used it in the playthrough.
yeah. It wasn't too long ago.
I mean, it has some parsing issues where it's a bit annoying to get from the main hangar up to the bridge. But it's still workable, I think.
I like these window encasements. It's really nice. That's always a challenge. I've got my thing with like one of the programs I have is using like two of these half blocks to dress up the windows here, but yeah, seeing this here on the edge where you open that up, that's interesting. I didn't really think to do that. Looks really good.
Yeah, like it gives the whole thing a bit more of an armored look, like the windows would be more even reinforced to make them more durable.
Yeah. And it just doesn't look right with them being at full size, the exposure like that.
Yeah,
Maybe
that's right.
maybe on some builds it would be okay, you know, sort of like a passenger ship or something to that effect, but
Yeah.
yeah. All right, so let's have a look at our SVs over here. Starting with the Raven.
Oh, that one.
Is there some inspiration from it? It kind of looks familiar. Where is it?
It is. Let's see if you know that. There's been an old 90s or 80s movie where they steal a Russian plane, and that Russian plane was the inspiration for that one.
Was that I know that was the one with Clint Eastwood.
Yes,
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly that one.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, the name was Firefox of the movie as well as of the plane, I think.
Yeah,
And
and
that has this angled down wings at the side, and this overall shape is also quite similar, I think.
yeah, that movie was awesome. And I think like
Yeah,
so I think that influence carried over into a was it like a mid or late 90s Super Nintendo game of this UN Squadron? I don't know if
could
you
be. Don't know that one.
Yeah, there's a ship that
That was uh,
looks like that.
uh, I love that movie still, and I watched it. I think when I was a child, I watched it, if not dozens of times. Fantastic movie.
Yeah, that
A
was
lot of fun
awesome.
with it. It's just this particular build, the Raven, that one is cursed. Whenever I use that, I die with it.
Oh, is it you getting shot out of the cockpit with that, or is that just bad luck overall?
They're true, but mostly, most of the times I die to some me being stupid and not accounting for game lag or something like that. It's just I know whenever I enter that thing, it will take maybe 1 or 2 sessions and I will die in it. That is not necessarily die. The last time I used it on a desert planet, a relatively early game. And they did shoot me down, and the whole thing collapsed. And the only thing that survived was the cockpit and the two CPU extenders.
Oh wow.
And that ended up with me running through the desert with two CPU extenders trying to get back to my base. And it was a desert without any oxygen, and I think I died 2 miles away from my base, which was really, really infuriating. Yeah,
Vulture here. This
that's nice.
Vulture looks Halo inspired.
Um, I dare say no.
Okay.
It's It's really more helicopter or gunship inspired a bit. I mean, there's the Halo Pelican, which is also draws from the same inspiration, I would say, but it doesn't try to mimic the Pelican in any way, I think.
Yeah. Very nice shape here. I like this thing. We got a little bit of interior too, huh? Okay. Shield placement.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of upgrades. I mean, I also like to just, for the later game of these things, this one has a jump drive. And if you rip out the jump drive, you have a lot of space to do additional upgrades and use the thing way later, not even then.
Yeah. Comes a short range fighter.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And those, this one is a Core 2, and I've found that the Core 2 ships are surprisingly effective if you remove just the jump drive from them and put in CPU upgrades, additional sheet parts, more weapons. They often turn out to be quite capable fighters, even in mid to late game.
Oh yeah, very much. Let's see. Did the Raven have? Yeah, the Raven did have some interior. Okay. Same thing here. You could take the jump drive out and
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a jump drive is really a thing you only need at the start of the game. Later on, you usually run around with a CV and a hangar and have this SV in there. So
right.
you don't really need a jump drive anymore, this SV.
Unless, which leads into a segue here to the Phantom.
Yeah, clever.
Yeah. If you happen to be on a server that allows you to use a jump drive to exit the solar system.
Didn't they even change the regular RE jump drive now to allow jumps between short jumps?
Yeah,
Not sure.
we pressured them enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, the SV committee put their foot down about that, and we came in strong.
Yeah. I mean, the Phantom here also was caused by an Xcal's designer challenge.
Yes.
Also shout out to Xcal, great guy, great videos, great challenges. And yeah, that one was a fun build.
Hmm.
I think at some point I just started having fun and it didn't stop for quite some time.
That's I always saw it like that. That was my argument when I pushed for it on Anvil was like you really need to have that Millennium Falcon experience. So
Mhm.
kind of gave birth to that notion. But
Yeah.
uh, yeah, it's just a very beautiful cruise ship. I like it. Some of the challenges with the bigger ones is like the transitions up to higher decks. So, it looks like you did pretty well here with just using a ramps. Since we don't
Yeah.
have elevators as an option.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest issues I have are actually constructors. You cannot live from such a ship just because you lack the production capabilities.
Yes,
You cannot build any of the important stuff.
right. It makes no sense because with your constructor for your vehicle, the SV, you can't build your own turrets. You can't build your own ammo for most
Yeah.
of the turrets. So that's just an odd place to be. I, I
Yeah.
I feel that's something that should change. Like, for your class, you should be able to build for your vehicle, right?
Yeah. Also, I want a gravity generator. Please add one. No, it's just usually you don't need a gravity generator on SVs, but if you have something as big as this one here, then it would be so cool to have it.
Yeah, just absolutely beautiful. Now this thing is CPU hungry, so it really needs some cores to start to shine. But
Mm.
when you get that in, it's just a beautiful ship, man. Just really nice. I feel like yeah, I don't think it's just me, but working with like the SV scale, the smaller blocks, you find that the definition can carry out a little bit more because the finer size blocks and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I find if I'm working on an SV for a while and I transition back to CV, it's just like I feel like I lose a lot of detail options.
Mm. Yeah, as a builder, it can be really fun to have all these detailed possibilities here to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a ship like this. Sadly, currently, be it in RE or in vanilla, it's not very effective to have it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make it work if you put enough CPU upgrades in there. Then at some point, of course, you will be powerful enough to just steamroll everything.
Mm-hmm.
But you can achieve the same with much less CPU on a smaller SV.
Yeah.
And you don't gain anything then at after a certain point in size.
It's going to provide a hell of a RP experience, though.
That's true, yeah.
And a lot of people, a lot of the population play for that, right?
Yeah. I mean,
So,
I do.
yeah.
I also bought it in my current playthrough, the Phantom.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't used it yet, but I absolutely want to.
Did you do so I know Sandro played like the SV exclusive one season.
Yeah.
When did you try that?
I tried and gave up on it. I tried it to the point where I actually bought in the Phantom, and most of the time I used a small SV, which is that one here, which I could also transport with the Phantom. So basically, I added a small docking port or landing gear at the top, so I could use the Phantom as a carrier for it, and do my fights with the Darkshade here, which is when upgraded, a quite capable fighter. I think I ran it with 6 or 8 laser cannons then. And with that amount of laser cannons, you can even burn through turrets or stuff
Yeah.
quite well. So that's something I did, and had quite a bit of fun. But at some point, it's just the amount of pentexit you need to warp around between planets with an SV.
Yeah. Unless you do go and do the progenitor thing and get that more efficient chump
Yeah,
change.
but how long's gonna take it? It's gonna that take you?
Right.
That's a really long time to suffer through it.
She's a beauty though. She's definitely that. A lot of good LCD work. Um, love the curves. Just a good presence on the interior. Just you got like the crew stations and stuff like that. It really feels like a ship that should come to life. And it's unfortunate that we can't get like crew members in here. That would be cool.
Oh man, yeah, that would be cool. Not sure, can't we even? I think. Ah, no, they're not. Ah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think you can copy and paste them on there, but you can't regularly place them on SVs.
yeah, that'd be great though.
Yeah, that was it.
You know,
Yeah,
and if they would have like the bonuses, the CPU bonuses too, that would be great.
I would like that. Could also be some reason at least to have bigger SVs, but
Yeah,
even then it would be. I think maybe with what Vermilion plays for Reforged Galaxy 2, where he has fewer crew members, which have also stronger bonuses.
yeah,
If that would be available for SVs, that would be really interesting.
make them more efficient, and so that would be cool too, having unique crew members as well. They could be tied to like missions. Maybe you need to go rescue one or something.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. Let's see. I think that's most of everything we've covered here. Is there anything else you'd like to show?
Let me think. Perhaps one thing. That one. Because that one was basically don't want to say prototype, but my first run at a really big SV.
Rond. Is Lord of the Rings inspired?
Yes, actually.
Sweet.
I think I even posted a small quote from Lord of the Rings on the workshop page, right? That's basically a giant transport, especially for the demolisher tank, which you also already looked at earlier. And you can dock that here in the back and transport it down from a carrier vehicle down to a planet.
Yeah.
That thing. And well, it turned out that with the amount of guns it has, it really doesn't need to transport anything because it can just. Yeah, well, anyways, that was at least the idea. Yeah, but I think we've looked at really the most stuff. I mean, I could show one or two old things that. Let me see, perhaps that one. It's something that never really made it to the workshop.
Oh yeah.
It was an earlier SV.
Hmm.
I'm not even sure whether it is Reforged Eden. Ah, it is, okay, yeah. So that was one of my earlier tries before I think it's much too heavy because it's sillily armored and doesn't move, but yeah, I
Nice.
still liked it.
Yeah, it's got some nice clean interior.
Yeah.
I like it.
And perhaps one another thing, but I think that would be the last one. That would be a bigger one. Was spawned in up here, above the Titus. That was my first dedicated carrier that I built. It has a giant interior hangar, which also spawned in some the desire to build some seaweeds which fit in there, and I started building then mining seaweeds which would fit inside. And I think the second playthrough which I did, I ran with this one here and had a lot of fun. Also,
Hmm.
also had a little platform at the back where I could build another dedicated fighter CV, which was basically nothing more than thrusters and guns, which was damn ugly, but and didn't work too well. But that was the idea, anyways.
Yeah.
Things where you learn, basically. Yeah.
Flying
Yeah, but
brick.
yeah, it's. It, I mean, it's a brick. Yeah. So that was the name then.
It's great to see the evolution. Like I like seeing this like a snapshot, where people start and where they're at currently.
Yeah.
The contrast is just awesome to see. I love it. I love to see the growth.
I also just like to sometimes to look back at where I came from, and it's also motivating to see when you look at your old builds and see, look, that's where I started, and this is how far I've come.
Yeah.
And then you realize you're not at the end; it's continuing, and
R-
that's also motivating.
Right. It certainly would serve as inspiration for other builders as well. Seeing that a lot of what we do, I don't really think anybody has just like been phenomenal right out of the gate. As far as a builder, like how they start. Maybe there's some exceptions, but
Yeah, you don't kill my illusions. Never seen a note built from you.
well, the thing is that I sat in creative for like a year and a half, 2 years before I put something out, published it. So that's what I did differently. I didn't go through like a learning stage. Like with the workshop, I refined everything before I pushed it out.
See.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've seen some of my stuff. I've got some early things. Let's
I
see.
think I only know, but you posted on the workshop.
Yeah, let's see here. I've got some I've got some things. Here we go. We want to bring it over here. Come over here to the west a little bit. Change this lighting. You see?
That certainly looks like an earlier LyfeForce build.
Yeah, it's something. It's something. I
But
did,
it's still nice because I already got the glowies.
it's ready to explode. Everything will chain or detonate, and you're not gonna have a ship after something. Yeah, I've got some early things, so that's kind of like my first completed CV, if you will. Um, so the second
That
one,
it does remind me a bit of the very first CV I built, which is that one. About the same size.
yeah,
Uh,
kind of about the same scale.
I think it's just a really good size to start with when you're building. So something that's not too big.
Yeah, and I guess also too for both of these, it's we didn't have the shield parts to worry about like
Yeah,
that.
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was my first one, and my second one. Let's see here. Yeah, maybe I lost that. Okay, here it is. So this is kind of a snapshot of the evolution here a little bit.
Is that the wolf from the other one?
Yeah, this will be the second one, CV2. So here
Not so bad.
I was starting to pick up on the concept of like the terracing for the weapon angles and stuff.
No, I really like this raster setup and the glowies around them.
Yeah, I was
It's really nice.
also starting to pick up on like how to mount thrusters and stuff like that, give a proper setting.
Uh, Also has a good weapon layer setup already.
Yep. First, let's see if I get the first SV. This was my very first build here.
Yeah, well, it looks better than mine.
I,
Already got nice textures and all.
I guess it's kind of like a Batwing inspiration or something. I'm not sure what I was going for, but
The wings are really cool, the wing cannons. What are those drills? No.
maybe.
Laser drill models, yeah. Drills. Do you
Hmm.
start with Reforged Eden directly?
No, this is vanilla. So I started actually. I don't know if you went through the same process. A lot of us did this where we weren't apparently for some reason we weren't aware that was there was a creative mode. So we were building in survival. I don't know if you went through that or not, but
Yeah, no, not really. As I said, I did start with watching Spen's videos, so I did start with a lot of knowledge about the creative mode and what's possible.
yeah. Yeah, I guess I didn't look for that right out of the gate. I just dove into the
Uh,
game and maybe a good 100 hours or something building in survival.
mm.
I guess that's not as bad as Moo Bear. Apparently, he did like 1,000 hours.
Yeah.
He did 1,000 hours building in survival before he realized there was a creative mode.
Uh,
Yep.
it was a fun story, yeah. Was also a fun episode with Mubia. Really liked that one.
Yeah.
Great guy as well. And great builder.
Uh, you have anything else for us?
No, I think really we have looked at most things. I mean, I have a lot of builds. We could spend another week looking at builds, old builds, but I think when it comes to interesting stuff, I think we have seen the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good snapshot of your aesthetic and build progression.
Yeah.
Any last words or words of inspiration for other builders?
I mean, same thing everyone says, huh? Just keep building, keep having fun, keep playing the game, do fun stories, tell fun stories. Yeah. It's a game. Use it to have fun.
All right, so I guess one last thing is Ente. That means duck.
That's right, yeah. German for duck. And yeah, there isn't a fun story with it. It's just, yeah.
Okay. All right, that's it, folks. This episode of Artist Behind the Art with Ente. Awesome interview. Appreciate
Thanks
your
for
time.
having me here.
Okay. All right. I guess that's gonna do it. Till next time, folks. Catch you later. LyfeForce out. Hey, folks, if you enjoy my content, please consider becoming a patron today. As a patron, you gain access to exclusive builds not featured on the workshop, early access builds, as well as participate in a number of things, including polls, feedback, comments, suggestions, ideas, or anything you'd like to submit to current and future builds. If any of this appeals to you, please consider becoming a patron today. Link in the pinned comment below. Thank you.